the practice of yoga is really a practice of paying a lot of attention to your own tendencies and your own, attachments and aversions in your practice of yoga. It's also a practice of getting more and more and more connected to yourself and to the others around you. So the practice of yoga, I know it looks sometimes like it's just a series of stretches, but yoga itself is actually a fairly complex system of practices. It has 8 limbs. The physical poses that most people are familiar with is only one of those limbs. It also includes limbs around breath practices, meditation, and a series of yamas and niyamas that are kind of ethical precepts for living. And the very, very first step on the path of yoga is ahimsa. And ahimsa is the practice of non-violence. So the entire yogic path is a peaceful path. And the very, very first step that anybody who embarks on the yogic path seriously takes is a commitment to the personal practice of non-violence. So there are a lot of tools that we use and that we support people to use. What I found personally the most transformative was the clarity that comes when you really commit to a yoga practice. Because you're working with a direct connection between mind and body, you're not able to avoid some of the things that you can avoid if you're just engaged through your mind. The mind is a bit trickier. The body's a bit more honest. And so I got very clear and I saw things about myself and about my tendencies that I'd never really allowed myself to see before, including some of the, I would say, the kind of shadow motivations to do my work. And I think that's really important. And, if you're driven to do what looks like positive change work in your community, but you're driven to do it by guilt or anger or some kind of unacknowledged, emotion that is driving you to the work, that's going to affect the way that your work lands in the community and the way that it's received. So the yoga practice can also help you get clear about that, and it doesn't mean that, there's something wrong with you if you have these motivations. It's not all love and light. You're also angry or you also feel guilty. That's fine. That's totally human. But you have to take responsibility for that. You have to know that that's part of what motivates you to do that work. And you have to, I believe, take responsibility for having a personal practice, whether it's a physical embodied practice or some other kind of daily ritual for acknowledging the emotions that might be driving you, processing them and releasing them. And yoga is a great way to do that. And I think it really keeps your work, whether it's peace work, change work, any kind of social work, it keeps your work cleaner